The wind whistled through an empty field where a home once stood. A lone pickup truck stopped, and a man in uniform stepped out, dust clinging to his boots, confusion clouding his eyes. Marcus Gray had just returned from his third deployment overseas. He had fought for his country, led his men through desert storms, and survived things most could never imagine. But nothing prepared him for what he saw now, his ranch gone. Where his porch once stood, there was a real estate sign, sold courtesy of Clearview HOA. Marcus's hand trembled as he read the words. His heart pounded harder than it ever had on the battlefield. He whispered, "What do you mean sold?" And that's when his nightmare began. Marcus had bought the ranch 5 years ago, a quiet place on the edge of Texas, surrounded by oak trees and sunlight. It was the dream he and his late father had shared. Land to call their own, a space where nobody could tell them they didn't belong. Before deploying, Marcus made sure every HOA fee, tax, and mortgage payment was auto-paid. He left a key with his neighbor, Mrs. Jenkins, an elderly widow who promised to keep an eye on the place. But war doesn't wait, and neither did life back home. When Marcus was deployed to Syria, letters from the HOA stopped coming. He didn't think much of it, until now. As he walked through the lot where his barn once stood, a neighbor pulled up. "Marcus? My God, is that you?" It was Mrs. Jenkins. She looked terrified. "Sweetheart, I thought you knew. They said you stopped paying your HOA dues. They auctioned your land last month." Marcus blinked, stunned. "What? I set everything up before I left." "That's impossible." Mrs. Jenkins shook her head. "Honey, they didn't care. They said no contact meant abandonment." Marcus felt a slow, burning heat rise in his chest. Abandonment? He'd been risking his life for the same flag that flew in their front yards. Something wasn't right, and Marcus was going to find out what happened. He went straight to the HOA office the next morning. The clerk looked at him like he was a problem, not a person. "Name?" she asked without looking up. "Marcus Gray." Her eyes flickered when she saw his uniform. "Oh, you're that guy." Marcus leaned in. "What do you mean, that guy?" She shrugged. "The board said you left the property abandoned. We followed procedure." "Procedure?" Marcus's voice was cold now. "I was deployed, serving my country." The woman gave a half-smirk. "We're not the army, sir. We just handle housing." Marcus clenched his jaw. He could feel the injustice choking him. He asked to see the HOA president. Moments later, a tall man in a suit entered. "Mr. Gray, I'm sure this is difficult, but the property was reclaimed legally. Maybe next time, try answering your mail." That line hit harder than a punch. Marcus had faced rockets overseas, but this was personal. He walked out without another word. That night, he sat in a cheap motel room, staring at the ceiling. His home, his dream was gone. Then his phone buzzed. It was his old Army commander, Colonel Davis. "Marcus, what's going on? We got word your property was seized while you were on active duty. That's a federal violation." Marcus froze. "Wait, what?" The colonel's tone sharpened. "Under the Service Members Civil Relief Act, no one can foreclose or sell your property while you're deployed. I'll handle this." Marcus's eyes filled with something new, hope. And from that moment, the battle for justice began. 2 weeks later, the HOA board gathered for their monthly meeting, completely unaware of what was about to hit them. A convoy of black SUVs rolled into the neighborhood. Soldiers stepped out in uniform, followed by federal officials. Colonel Davis led the group. His presence alone silenced the entire room. "Who's responsible for the sale of Sergeant Marcus Gray's property?" he demanded. The HOA president stammered, "That would be the board, sir." Davis held up a thick folder. "You violated federal law. You sold property belonging to a deployed soldier knowingly. Every sale that came from this HOA over the last year is now under federal investigation." Gasps filled the room. Board members turned pale. And then came the blow no one expected. "Effective immediately," Davis said, "the United States Army is seizing all property sold under fraudulent or unlawful conditions. That includes every home you sold using Mr. Gray's land fund. Consider this community under federal review. Marcus stood behind him, quiet but unbreakable. He didn't need to say a word. Justice was speaking for him now. The HOA president tried to argue. "You can't do this. These homes belong to families," Davis snapped. "Tell that to the man who was fighting for yours." The silence that followed was deafening. By the end of the week, every property sold through that HOA's illegal actions was frozen. The board members faced criminal charges for fraud and discrimination. Marcus's ranch was restored, every inch of it. Marcus returned to his land a month later. The grass was overgrown, the fences broken, but it was his again. He stood there quietly, hand brushing over the new "Welcome Home" sign his neighbors had placed near the gate. Mrs. Jenkins walked up, smiling softly. "Told you this land would always be yours." Marcus nodded. "It's not about the land anymore. It's about what it stands for." She tilted her head. "And what's that, son?" He looked toward the horizon, sunlight hitting his uniform. "That no matter how far they try to push us down, truth finds its way back." As he walked toward his rebuilt porch, the flag fluttered in the wind behind him. Not as a decoration, but as a promise. And though Marcus never sought revenge, justice found him anyway.